This dog fell in love again with his life after meeting the most unexpected stranger. Terfel is a Labrador who has seen only tragedies in his life. He got impacted so much by the hardships of life that he decided to boycott the entire world. He did boycott the entire world as planned, but then something completely unplanned took place in his life that turned it upside down. The blind dog who once hesitated stepping outside began to run aimlessly in the playground. What do you think it takes for an individual to change completely? Don't know? Wanna know? Then just keep listening and watching this video. Imagine a day full of dark, so dark that you can't see anything and anyone. You are no more able to feast your eye on the beauty of nature, nor can you see your dear ones while listening to them, as you have gone blind. We really hope no tragedy like this would ever touch you, but not just the thought of it just makes you shudder. It is important for you to imagine these heartbreaking situations in order to understand the emotions embedded in this story that is about a blind dog called Terfel. Terfel is an 8-year-old farm dog coming from a Labrador Retriever breed. Terfel wasn't always blind. There was a time when he could see, and at those times he saw nothing but tragedies. It was after going blind he saw something beautiful in his life, something that's most unexpected for anyone. Retrievers are very fun-loving, easygoing, and handsome dogs. Their adorable nature makes them one of the most popular dogs ever. From being hunting dogs, show dogs, canine dogs, to domesticated dogs, Labradors are versatile canines. This kind of versatility is not found in other breeds. They are highly active dogs who prefer to stay outdoors in the playground. Because of their high energy, it's important to take the dog and make them exercise. This breed is the very friendly companion. Terfel, being a Labrador Retriever, had all these qualities, but unfortunately had forgotten all of them due to his miserable condition. Let's see what it takes for this miserable dog to get his cheerful life back. The symptoms of Terfel's blindness surfaced when he frequently started bumping into things. His constant collisions broke his confidence, and as a result, he gave up walking. His blindness clouded him gradually and remained obscure for a long time until he started behaving extraordinarily. Along with being blind, this 14-year-old dog was now partially deaf too. That makes it even more difficult. Dogs love to run and walk, but this poor pooch abandoned all these hobbies in fear of running into things and injuring himself. So he limited himself to a tiny box. This all kept happening till by the time a magic happened in his life that had no way out. Unlike dogs, humans are so lucky. They have every service at their disposal, whereas dogs crave for people's attention towards their wounds, let alone services. You must have come across such heartbreaking sights where a dog is laid sheeted with wounds and nobody cares to give a damn. There are overflooding cases of dogs giving up their lives because of untreated injuries. Terfel too had no one who would care for him, except for his owner, who was too old to take care of all the basic needs of this blind dog. Terfel stopped interacting with anyone. It was a problem for the owner too. Little did she know that very soon all her problems were going to disappear. Terfel is owned by Judy Brown, who's an old lady now. She takes the best care of her pet in her power. She'd adopted Terfel from his ex-owner. She resides in Holyhead, North Wales, and no doubt, Judy gave the dog a better life as Terfel had been extensively brutalized by his previous owner. In one instance, the cruel former owner hurled the dog against a wall. At that time, Terfel was very young. It was not the only case of brutality practiced by the former owner. Hundreds of times, Terfel had become the victim of his owner's mood. Judy, the current owner, is a retired civil servant of Holyhead. She's an animal lover who has adopted many others aside from Terfel. Because of the constant barbaric treatment meted out to him, the dog eventually became partially deaf. Along with that, his seeing disabilities also began to appear. His eyesight began dwindling. His old master had no feelings of sympathy for his pet, so the dog had to suffer all the trauma quietly. Naturally, no one bothered to notice the changes in the dog until it took an extreme form. Lastly, he was taken to a vet when he was 8 years old. It was then the vets noticed cataracts on his eyes. The dog's eyes turned into milky white, and the cataracts gradually led to complete blindness. Cataracts are caused by the breaking of lens fiber within the eyes. When the excess water in the back of the actual lens overflows to the actual lens, leads to cataracts. Cataracts is commonly found in humans and dogs. As far as dogs are concerned, this species is predisposed to many types of cataracts. They can develop single-eye cataracts, or some cataracts clouds both of them. The one with cataracts has whiteness in the affected lens. Cataract is a dangerous disease that can lead to blindness in severe cases. Terfel had cataracts in both eyes that turned his life upside down until he met a miracle. Apparently, Terfel lagging in health began to have a negative impact on his mind. In no time, he got into reclusion and depression. He stopped interacting with his master and confined himself to his blanket. The impact was so huge that this mute creature got more reserved day by day. It seemed he severed all kind of connection with the outside world. Once very active, this dog turned into a hesitant individual. His blindness not only deprived him of beautiful sights, but of all the happiness out there. In order to avoid injuries, the dog began to spend his day and nights on the bed only. That was a brilliant idea for him, as if he would not get down and roam around the house, he'd never get hurt. Though he decided to limit himself to a corner of the bed, he couldn't continue this way being a farm dog. Just like other dogs, Terfel too had to do some exercises to keep his body healthy. So, willingly or unwillingly, he had to get out of his bed. The dog was leading a miserable life. He'd gone blind, was partially deaf, and was limited to a corner of the house with shattered confidence. Terfel's life, though, changed when he met Putty Tat. In a matter of days, the duo became best friends. They ate together, slept together, and walked outside together. And their friendship grew so strong that people started referring to them as the finest example of iconic friendship. Their friendship soon became the talk of the town. Their friendship was special not because of the overwhelming affection they had for each other, but because of them. So, let's meet Putty Tat. Once, a stray cat got inside Judy's house. He had come to find something to eat, but he found something else instead of food. He saw Terfel lying on his bed. With the help of his sixth sense, he found out Terfel's blind and surprisingly began to lead him to a playground. That's how it went for the first few days until Judy saw all this happening. At first, she couldn't believe her eyes that it was very unexpected. Observing Terfel's happiness with the cat, she decided to do something and named him Putty Tat. Judy's next step was going to make a huge difference in the life of newfound friends. Judy, observing the underconfident dog, tried to cheer him up by bringing the cat home. She named him Putty Tat, and what do you expect when a cat and dog are sharing the same space? Lots of fights and chasing, right? But that wasn't the case here. In fact, as we know, the two struck a unique bond from the moment they met. The permanent arrival of the cat into the house lightened up Terfel's face. If you want to know how this tiny cat helped this big dog through the ways, then just keep watching. You may take Putty Tat as a very gentle and caring kind of cat. If yes, then let me tell you that wasn't the case. Putty Tat is a very notorious cat and does not have good bonds with other cats. The owner Judy has more cats, but Putty Tat does not get along with any of them. So it was surprising that Putty Tat, who wasn't good with any of his fellow cats, was making an amazing friendship with a dog. It's true that Judy wanted to cheer Terfel up by bringing the tabby. She had an idea that the entrance of this cat in their house would change the entire life of Judy and her pets. Nobody knows the exact reason behind their amazing bond. Perhaps he'd sensed the sadness of the dog and wanted to help him out. According to Judy, I think Putty Tat must have realized that Terfel was a bit vulnerable. His vulnerability helped in building up such a strong and most unlikely friendship. On the other hand, Terfel also started to trust Putty Tat. This unique friendship bond confidence in Terfel, who began going out and playing with the tiny cat. Putty Tat and Terfel are joined at the hips. As I told you before, they do almost everything together. From eating to playing, you'll always see them sticking to each other. This inseparable pair shares a great bond. They even share the same bed, and while they go to sleep, they snuggle. The next day when they wake up, they have their breakfast together. After breakfast, they go out to play in the ground where Putty Tat leads Terfel around. We know it seems unbelievable, which is why we have a video right here. Putty Tat shared this beautiful relationship with Terfel only. Despite the fact that Judy had 6 more cats, Putty Tat only struck a bond with a dog. And even Terfel, who had 6 more cat companions prior to the arrival of Putty Tat, never really liked them, but got along with the tabby in matter of day. Their impromptu friendship that eventually turned into a stronger one makes their friendship worth talking about. It's amazing to see that a dog got back his confidence in him because of a cat. Have you seen a friendship so unique? This cat is very intelligent and helps the dog in many ways. You must be wondering how this tiny cat is helping this dog out. Simple. He uses his paw for that. Judy says he uses his paws to guide him. He leads the dog to the playground, his bed, and many more places. And that's not it. Putty Tat also opens the door for him. He's become his guide come best friend. I'm sure you must have been astounded by the depth of their friendship. There is more to it that will take you completely aback. Putty Tat helps Terfel in moving around the house by avoiding couches, corners, or chairs. He takes full charge of everything. He makes sure Terfel walks freely without running into anything. Not just inside the house, he guides him outside also. He remains cautious so the dog plays without getting hurt in the playground. He plays with him and also takes care of him. It won't be an exaggeration to say that the cat was the best guy the dog could ever have. You must have seen dogs chasing cats, obviously for some violent reason. Here, the dog Terfel was also chasing Putty Tat, but for altogether a different one. Judy describes their nose to tail with Putty Tat in the lead and Terfel following him. These pictures should amaze you completely. Initially, Judy found it difficult to take care of Terfel. Being an old lady, she used to not take the dog for regular walks. Naturally, the lack of exercise impacted his health negatively. He became slower than ever, and due to his habit of confining himself to his basket, he started getting ill. Thanks to Judy, she brought this cat into the house and everything changed. From there on, Putty Tat started taking the dog out for walks. Judy has got his responsibility towards the dog reduced by half, and the credit goes to Putty Tat. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Judy too is amazed at their amazing bond. She admits that never in her life had she seen such a strong friendship, not even through humans. Their friendship is a classic example of commitment, loyalty, and understanding. Judy explains her astonishment that have gone on quite well as these two, and they relied upon each other in that same way. In the light of their friendship, it's important to credit Judy for it, as if Judy hadn't brought Putty Tat into the house, we would have never witnessed such an incredible friendship.